focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks. Welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo, and as always, I'm bringing you some of the most incredible people in the world. We're talking money, we're talking business, we're talking life, and today we have a very, very special guest, Ariane Alexander. She's our guest today. She has over 15 years of massive success in sales and marketing in actually corporate America, and has a master's degree in spiritual psychology. She has worked in the fashion business as well as the pharmaceutical sales. In addition, she has built a career in entertainment business and been on several TV shows. Now she's teaching people how to create a life and a career they've always dreamed of as a rock your business coach. And so, Ariane, how are you? How you doing? And wait up, what the heck, psychology, spiritual psychology, what the heck is that all about?
Oh my gosh, I know. That's always the question. People are like, "What is it?" And it's a little tricky to explain, but the best way I could describe it is this: the opportunity is to. It's a master's program that I did many years ago, and it's completely transformed my life and continues to. And it basically invites me, all of us, to look at life through a spiritual lens, that every single thing that happens is for our highest good. So no matter how challenging, how tragic, how sad, how any of it is, it's all for my highest good. So therefore, I'm not walking around as a victim in life going, I'm upset because there's so much traffic. I'm upset because I don't have enough money. I'm upset because the world's falling apart, whatever. There's so many reasons to be, quote, upset. But with a spiritual psychology point of view and that background, I'm able to actually look at things and really look at it through a lens of somehow, some way, it's all for my highest good. And what can I learn, and how can I grow, and how can I experience even more loving, even when it's the most challenging thing I've ever gone through.
Oh, wow. Well said. That's very, very cool. Well, we're going to talk a lot about that. We'll talk about psychology, everything today. But I want to kind of take us back a little bit, as I
Yeah.
always do, to try to get to know our guests. And so my audience can really understand who you are. So where did you grow up, and what did your parents do?
Oh, great question. Always ask me where my parents do. Well, I'm a cowgirl from Kansas. I grew up in Kansas and Oklahoma. Total cowgirl, showing horses, riding horses all the time. Love the Midwestern life. I live in Los Angeles now, in Santa Monica, so completely different worlds. But growing up in Kansas was really great. And my mom was always in the nonprofit sector. She was always leading all kinds of different nonprofits through the years. And my dad is a veterinarian, and my stepdad is a physician. So I grew up with like smart people. Everyone's really smart in my family. And that's one of the interesting things about my journey is, so, today I live in Los Angeles. I have this amazing career as a business coach and video expert. I help people all over the planet internationally with their businesses and using video marketing to really drive their business. And I work as an actor. I'm on all kinds of cool TV shows. It's just something that for the last 10 years I've done. I host a TV show. I've hosted for 10 years. So this crazy life of all these cool things, which was never intended, because I grew up in Kansas. And I always say, little girls in Kansas don't grow up dreaming about living in LA on the beach and working as a life coach and business coach and being an actor on TV shows. It's not even in the realm of possibility. So for me to be here today, it's just shows the journey of life can take us in. I feel like when I can surrender to the journey of life and invite life to take me in the direction it really wants to go and get out of my own way, then miracles can really appear.
My favorite movie is Forrest Gump. Okay. So, like, literally, when you were explaining this, all I kept thinking about was Forrest Gump, because the cool thing that I love about Forrest Gump is this guy, life just throws him whatever. And he's like, okay, right? Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, but he just keeps moving forward. No matter what tragedy, no matter what good thing, bad thing, he just keeps moving forward. And I think that that was a great way to talk about that. What's the main thing that's different between Kansas and living out here?
Oh gosh, it's okay. So the biggest difference for me is living on the West Coast where I live by the ocean. So, right, it's not landlocked. There's literally the ocean, as you know. And so living here, it's the city of angels. It's a city of dreams. And it's definitely the energy here is like you can create whatever you want. And it's like I have so many friends that they're like, I'm going to be an interior designer. And like the next week they're, an interior designer or, I mean, it's just anything you can think of, you can create here. And that's why I really love it living in Los Angeles in this area. Whereas in Kansas, growing up in the Midwest, it's very much, I felt like I grew up and I was supposed to go to college and supposed to get a job after college and may or may not like the job and supposed to get married and have a couple kids, which I didn't do. And so like, oh my God, like who am I? So it's a very, it's a little more predictable, let's call it. And so now that I've been on the West Coast for 20 years now, and I really feel that difference of like I can really create whatever it is that I want. And I love that. I love that inspiration. I love that openness. I love that people are available to that here.
Ariane, what kind of kid were you when you grew up? When you were young, were you a good kid? Were you a bad kid? Good grades, bad grades? What kind of kid were you?
I was definitely a good kid. I was, if you're gonna say good kid, I was very popular. I was very smart. I got like straight A's and was in student council and I was a singer. So I had this creative aspect where I was a singer but my main thing was I showed horses competitively. That's what I did is I showed quarter horses competitively all growing up in Kansas and Oklahoma. And that's where I think I always wanted to excel. It's always wanting to succeed and excel and always be the best. And so it's like, and I'm not, there's two sides of that coin. Like wanting to excel is really great, but also the perfectionism and the damage that can be created because of striving for that so much. You know, found out later in life, but because showing horses, it's like training for the Olympics. Like we were in horse shows, we were training for world championships, and it was intense, and it was very, like you were there to win. And I won everything. And I won a world championship at 16 years old, which was like the most amazing thing in my life. But I will never forget, it was the best day of my life and the worst day of my life, because it was like this thing I'd always dreamt of and always wanted, and I did it, and yet it didn't fulfill me. I was crying, and thought it was crying tears of joy, but I was actually like, oh crap, like I did this thing and I'm not happy. Like I'm not as happy as I thought it would be. And now I'm like, and now I can't, like, how am I going to sustain this? Like you can't win a world championship like every year for the rest of your life. And so that perfectionism, I was still like, well, I'm still not perfect. So I saw that growing up, how I was always trying to be perfect and be the best, which is great in so many aspects, but it also was like, ugh, it wasn't fun in lots of
So
aspects too.
why do you think you weren't happy? Like why do you not think you were as
Because
excited as you thought you were going to be?
it's always as a coach today, I totally understand the psychology of everything, because it's like, it's the dangling carrot. It's like when I'm coaching my clients, it's always this way. Everyone thinks like, oh, when I get the job, when I get the guy, when I lose the 10 pounds, when I get the thing, then I'll be happy. And but then the carrot changes. You're always chasing a dangling carrot. So you get the thing. I see this all the time when I work with like celebrity clients here in Los Angeles that are actors and stuff. They'll get one of my clients visioned for years, I want a TV show, it's whatever, sitcom. I want it 5 miles from my house. He got it. And then he went on a huge descent into cocaine and alcohol addiction. And because I was like, right, you think you're going to get this thing and you think that's when it can fulfill you, but it's never about the external. It's never, ever, ever about the external. The external stuff is great and it's fun and it's juicy and I love it, but it is only from the inside that you, any of us can actually fill the part of ourselves that desires and longs to be fulfilled. Like even as much as I can succeed in my life, no matter what it is, that, the money, the job, the success, the relationships, whatever, it's never gonna at night be like filling that place in me that just wants me to say, God, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so great. You look at you, like you can take a break, you can rest. Like those are my inner voices. Like no one can give that to me except for myself.
And so why do you think we do that to ourselves? I mean, what part of the psychology of our brains, why are our brains wired to want something so bad, but then you get it and then you're not as fulfilled as you thought you thought you were going to be? Why does that happen to us?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's really just because we're taught in our world that the stuff is going to bring us the happiness or the joy. And it takes a long time to really go within. So for instance, it's these underlying beliefs and these underlying things that we tell ourselves that are so quiet but yet so loud. So for instance, if I coach clients in that are a lot of online entrepreneurs, like health and fitness experts and other business coaches and life coaches and social media coaches. So they, they want to have a, program that has 100 people in it, let's say. So they're excited about it, they're moving towards it, they're, and they're proud of themselves. And so if they do it, but they still can have a voice running that says, well, you did it, but it's not really good enough. So that voice is basically saying, I'm not good enough. So no matter what I do, that voice that says, I'm not good enough, doesn't go away until I actually address it internally. No matter what I do on the outside, it's never going to be enough to fill that voice, that limiting belief, call it limiting belief, call it unconscious belief. People call it all kinds of different things. But it's basically that inner voice that's lying to us, but saying like, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you don't deserve it. I hear that a lot. My clients that have success, then they feel like they didn't deserve it. And I'm like, you can't ever get enough success to override a thought within yourself, a belief that thinks you don't deserve it.
And
so that's where the inner work comes in.
So yeah, so tell us, let's dive a little bit into that inner work and kind of go, okay, so maybe we have that, okay? We get to that point, we've had that success, and then you go, all right, what next? How do we overcome that battle within ourselves?
That's a great question, because there's lots of different ways to do it. But really, I'm a big fan of simplicity. I love the work of Byron Katie. I love the work of the spiritual psychology program I've gone to, because it really is sitting with those thoughts that say, like, I don't deserve it, and saying, is it true? Can I really know that that's true? And the mind will trick us. The mind will be like, yeah, it's totally true. You don't deserve it because da, da, da. But that's just the ego. That's just this place that wants to keep us out of true, call it peace or joy, call it ego, call it whatever you want. But it's like this place that wants to pull us out of true peace and happiness. So the more that I can come back to, okay, let me sit with that thought and invite clarity around that thought and really see that it's just a thought. I think Byron Katie says it so well, because, and if you don't know Byron Katie, look her up. It's just byronkatie.com. She's amazing. But it's really, she says about thoughts is like, we don't consciously choose what we're thinking. It's like, I don't wake up in the morning and go, what am I going to think today? I wake up and the thoughts are already running. So they're running all the time. And this is what's great news is you don't have to believe every thought that comes through. We just as humans decide what's important and then we grab onto it. So the thoughts come in like, you are good enough. You do deserve it. I'm so proud of you. But I don't hang on to those and listen to them. But the one that comes in that says, you're not good enough and you don't deserve it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's important. I'm going to listen to that one. And how can I go down the rabbit hole and prove it? And da, da, da. So it's really inviting the awareness and slowing down that they are just thoughts, and that a new thought is going to come in at any moment. And when we start to just be aware of that and question that and really see what's underneath that, like forgive myself for ever having bought into the belief that I'm not worthy or I don't deserve it, that's where the shift can start to come.
I see that. And I do see that. I think one of the first steps for any of us to start living our best life is to love ourselves and to accept ourselves for good and for bad. But to really, I mean, I'm one of those people. Now, again, some people say this works, some people say it doesn't work. I'm a big law of attraction believer. I believe, the things that I say and I put out in the universe, they just seem to happen. Now, nothing's perfect. But I'm one of those people that I get up in the morning, I look in the mirror in the shower, and I say, yes, yes, yes. And I say, you're a stud. You're awesome. You're amazing. It's going to be a great day today. I mean, I've been doing this for so many years, more than I can count. And people think I'm nuts. People think I'm crazy. I mean, I remember, when I was in the field a whole lot, as I was building my business early on, I'd be in the car and if I would write a sale or I would bring a new person on board, I would get in my car and I would instantly turn on the radio, blast on the radio, and then I would say, yes, 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 yes. And I program my mind to be able to make it okay to enjoy the things when the good things came in. And of course, give myself that permission to have fun and enjoy the fun that I'm having when things went the way I wanted them to go. I don't know if any of that makes
Mhm.
sense, but that's kind of just been my little road. What do you think about all that?
Oh
Am I
my gosh,
crazy?
yeah. No, of course I'm totally on board. Of course, I live in the same world of like law of
Okay.
attraction and psychology and all of it because just what I hear is it's that consistency, like you say, you programmed it. It's the okay. So for instance, what you're doing is you're reinforcing the thoughts that actually support you and empower you, where most people reinforce the thoughts that aren't supportive. Because, for instance, when I think the thought or client or whoever thinks the thought, I don't deserve it, and then they start going down the rabbit hole of all the reasons they don't deserve it, you see they're just reinforcing that. They're like finding reasons that that's true. Well, that's programming that track. What you're saying is like you program a different track. You're programming the track that says I do deserve it, and let me see all the reasons why, and let me cheer myself on because I do deserve it. And you're programming that, so your point of view is going to create that, which is amazing. It's like that's so all these we're speaking the same language. It's just show you have a different little bit different way of doing it, which I totally love.
But I think, like, isn't it like people feel weird about doing stuff like that, which I could never, I mean, I can understand a little bit. Obviously, I do understand when somebody's a little more introverted, a little more shy, or a little more, and they, maybe even women, sometimes they have certain self doubts that maybe a man doesn't have, and they, and they're afraid to say nice things about themselves because I think too, it's the human ego that is saying, wait a minute, come on. Like, why are you being full of yourself? Like, what do
Yeah.
you think why do you think you're so great? Because that was part of my limiting beliefs early on in business, is the fact that, I looked at myself as a short, uneducated Mexican kid, no college education. And I was making $7 an hour when I started in business. And so that limiting belief weighed on me because I didn't, I would say, why do you think you deserve to make $1 million a year? Why do you think you're so special when everybody else in your neighborhood never made a lot of money? But what makes you feel so special? Do you see that sometimes with people that you're coaching?
Yeah, all the time. Because I remember many years ago, 20 some years ago, my first like personal development work was with Tony Robbins. And he always would say basically the challenges or the thoughts that people have that are so, call them limiting beliefs. It all boils down to like five things. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I won't be loved, who do I think I am? So it all boils down to the same things all the time. And I've coached for so long that I see this all the time. And so one thing that I coach a lot of people in video marketing about how to use videos creatively and powerfully through social media to build your business, because we are in such a media driven world, especially now. Like everything is online now, and everything's on Zoom, and of course everything's on Instagram and Facebook, which is amazing because you can reach people worldwide with whatever your business is. So I'm always coaching clients on how to use powerful video marketing. And oh my gosh, can you imagine when people start to be on camera and they're scared to death and they're adults and they're like, I suck at this and I am not good enough and I like terrible on camera, and what are people going to think of me and who am I to do this? I mean, this is where it all comes up. So I'm working with clients on this all the time. So I have so much compassion for the thoughts and the judgments that come up, and it's normal. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we all have this and it just all comes out in different ways. So no matter if someone is, extroverted, introverted, male, female, we all have these like similar things that have these stories we've told ourselves from a long time ago that come up to bite us in different situations. So the good news is that if you have limiting beliefs and you have things you're telling yourself, you're not alone and you're not crazy and there's nothing wrong with you, because pretty much everyone on the planet does it at some point. It's like no one gets away with a free pass of like not having, stories made up about themselves. We're just telling our stories, tell our stories about ourselves all the time. So the opportunity is just to really, like you say, acknowledge and accept who you are in each moment. And it's much easier said than done, but it's that compassion of like, okay, in this moment, I might not feel like I'm good enough, but I'm going to do the thing anyway. And that's what I have found is the complete solution to breaking through these patterns and these old ways of being and these old stories is taking courageous action to counter it. It's just like building a muscle. When you go to the gym, you don't get strong by lifting 5 pounds every day the rest of your life. The only way you're going to build strength is when you start lifting more weight, but you don't think you can lift more weight, right? You're like, oh God, I don't know if I can lift 20 pounds. That might be too heavy, but you do it. And then you find out if you can and you can't, you just do it. And then at some point you can lift 20 pounds. It's the same thing with anything, with creating videos, with building your business, with reaching out to people, with building relationships. You don't get confidence to do the thing. You do the thing and then you get the confidence.
Love that. Beautiful, beautiful. Well said. So, give us a couple of ideas because I think that, especially dealing with, because we are in quarantine right now, it's amazing how many podcasts I've been doing, and I've had
I'm
to say
sure.
that. Oh my God, we are like stuck in our house, and the government doesn't want us to go anywhere, blah, blah, blah. So, look, we're all sitting in our house. So, we had to either adapt and change, or we're going to die in business.
Yeah.
I'm in the financial services business. I mean, we see clients. We can't see clients right now unless it's through Zoom.
Yeah.
So we have, two choices: quit or adapt and change, right?
Yes.
And so give us some of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're on camera.
Gosh, I love this. Is like my favorite thing to talk about. I just did I've been helping a lot of clients with companies with Zoom because obviously, like you say, like everything on business. If you have a business, you're doing it on Zoom right now. And so I am working with a lot of companies to help their employees understand how to utilize the platform professionally so that everyone comes across professional and you can have the meetings and everything flows well. Because when people are at home, like there's a lot of, there's kids in the background and there's dirty dishes and all that. So, and just knowing our world is going to look this way for a while, like we're pretty much going to be on Zoom for quite some time. And it's great because you, again, like I say, you get to reach a worldwide audience. So with the things that the most important things on camera, first of all, is lighting. You always want to be able to see your eyes, because if I can't see your eyes, like why would I trust you? And like there's no connection. And in order to see your eyes, you need to be lit well. So I always encourage my clients to sit in front of a window. So what's interesting is you have a window behind you, but it works because you must be really well front lit as well. Am I accurate? Like
I am, yeah.
you've got nice light, right? Because most people, if you have a
Well,
window, yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
and then the sun can't go directly into this window because of the roof behind me.
Oh,
So
you have a
it's
shade.
actually, yeah,
Gotcha.
because there's a balcony right behind me, so it's
Okay,
covered. So
that's
I'm
cool.
a little lucky with having
Yeah, that makes
a
sense. It's covered, so
yeah,
it's not directly in. So you always
right.
want to have it be in front of the window so the light comes in and hits your eyes, and not have the window behind you, because then you'll be what's called backlit, and then we generally can't see your eyes. Like I say, you've got a great situation that we can still see palm trees and your eyes, and your face is really well lit. So you've got the best of both worlds. But lighting is very important to be front lit. And then right now with Zoom, meetings, and with any time that you're on camera, camera angle is very important, because nobody wants to see your double chin. And we all want to look good on camera, and most people are like looking at their laptop, which is down on a desk, so they're looking down into the camera, and then you're seeing, like, nobody wants to see double chins. Like, that's just not a good look for anybody. Double chins are not going to look for anyone, right? So when you want to look better, you want to have the camera at eye level angle, or a little above. And all you do when you're at home, if you're using your laptop, is you just get a box or some books. I stack books. Like I have my laptop right now on some books, stack books, so that you're raising your laptop again, or your iPad or whatever it is, to eye level and a little above. And that helps the camera angle a ton. And then, because then it's like you're in real life. The whole thing is you want the person that you're speaking to feel like they're speaking to you, like we're sitting across from each other at a table, right?
I love this, by the way. I just want to say, and I don't want you to stop. I want you to keep giving us ideas. But I coach a lot of people. I mean, I have Zooms where there's 200 people on one Zoom,
Wow.
and we're doing big old meetings and stuff and it's like almost like becoming a pet peeve of mine. I mean, I can't stand it when the camera is like way down. You can't see the person's face. They got five chins going on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, or they're too high, or it's too dark, or it's
Yeah.
coming from the side, or they're just holding their phone. And I'm like, oh, it's just crazy. Or people are driving in their car. It's like, just at least pull over for 5 minutes and watch the Zoom. You know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you think about all that? Give us some other ideas.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like this new medium that we're all having to use right now that
Figure
most
out,
people have to
right?
figure out. And so this is why I love to support people in this area so much, because it's so necessary. So it's the other thing to take into account. So I agree with you. It's hard because what you're saying is what's happening. It's hard to focus when it's not set up properly. And it doesn't take that much to set it up properly. You just have to find your lighting, find good lighting, or put a lamp in front of you, something. Just put some lights in front of you so your face is lit. Raise your computer or your laptop or your iPad or whatever it is, your phone, as much as possible so it's eye level. And then make sure your background is somewhat clean. And what I mean by that is, don't Zoom in front of your unmade bed. Don't Zoom with your dirty clothes on the floor. Don't Zoom with your bathroom door open and your toilet seat up. See that so much, and I'm like, oh my God, seriously, stop it. Your dirty dishes in the sink. I mean, it's just this awareness, since we are at home, and you've got to really understand that we're seeing everything behind you. And the reason is, it doesn't look professional. We want everything to look professional, but also, again, the whole point of business meetings on Zoom is so we can connect in a professional manner. When I'm not focused on you and I'm looking at your unmade bed, I'm not focused on you and what you're saying. My thoughts have been distracted. So you want to cut the distractions for whoever you're speaking to as much as possible. And just to have a little bit of awareness about your background and make it as clean as possible.
Love it. Well said. I love it. Okay. So now, what are some of the other things? Because obviously you're an expert when it comes to social media and you teach people how to market and all these different ideas. What are some of the social media mistakes that people make that you see out there?
Gosh, good question. Okay, good. So I think with social media, okay, here's what I hear and I see is people will say, like, I don't like social media. I don't need to tell people what I'm eating for breakfast. And I'm thinking, well, nobody wants to know what you're eating for breakfast. That's not what social media is for. So it's this perception, first of all, that it's because it kind of used to be like when it all kind of first started, it was people were just kind of posting what they ate because nobody knew what to post. But it's like we have come so far from that. So it's first of all understanding the intention of social media. The intention of social media is to connect and build relationships with your clients, your potential clients, your audience, whomever that is. And we're speaking now for business people, obviously. So it's all about, when any of us that are in business, the only way that clients come in is if they know us, trust us, and like us. This is like marketing 101. For anyone to buy a product, a service, or anything from any of us, they have to know us, like us, and trust us. So how do we do that? Well, social media, we get to do that so easily. And that's why I love videos, because it's the quickest way for people to know you, like you, and trust you, because we actually get to experience your energy and see you in person. But with all of social media, it's really understanding that that's the purpose of it, is to build relationships. It's not to shout from the rooftop about, like talking down to people, talking at people. It's to build a relationship. So that when you just come from that angle right there, is like, how can I be of service? Like when I was coaching someone on Instagram a few months ago, his eyes like popped open when I said, your Instagram is how can you be of service? How can you make the best experience for whoever's pops on your page or watches one of your Insta stories or watches one of your videos? How do you create the best experience for them? What do you want them to feel like when they read your posts or watch your Insta stories? And his eyes just popped open. He went, oh my God, I get it. Like, I'm creating this for the end user. And I'm like, yeah, what do you want that person to feel like and experience when they're watching your stuff? And when you come at it from that angle of how can I be of service to my tribe, you start shifting what you post and you start shifting how you approach it. So it comes from a more relational aspect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so what you're basically saying is that the challenge with a lot of people in their social media is they're trying to post things that make them happy versus trying to post things that make other people happy. I mean, not that you can't make yourself happy with posting something good, but the truth is in business, like for example, if you look at my social media, if you look at my Instagram page, it's not a lot of, dog pictures, although I did post me working with my cat the other day. I thought I'd give a shout out to all the cat lovers in the world, but I'm always thinking in terms of how can I give some value to somebody else? How can I teach something? So when people turn on their social media and they see my name, now not everybody likes me, but the people that are interested in the things that I'm talking about, which is my audience, when they see my name or they see my post come up, they go, okay, I'm going to spend 30 seconds here or a minute or sometimes 5 minutes. I'm going to learn something. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get something from this person. And I think so I don't know, am I doing it right? I'm trying to add value to people's lives versus just post, my food.
Yeah, definitely. It's totally that. And one thing you said is super important. People love animals. So post as many dog and cat pics you can with your pets. We love babies. Like, we love cats, dogs, babies. It's hilarious. So I'm always like, all my clients, I'm like, you got dogs and cats and babies, put them in there. The people love it. Because it's relational, right? It's something that's we all can relate to that, and it makes us smile, and that's happy. So what you said is accurate. It's like, how do you add value? How are you teaching, and how are you engaging, and how are you, so it's not like me. I think that's where social media has gotten a bad rap, and people kind of don't understand how to use it. It's not just me, what I'm all about. It's like, what am I doing of how I can add value to you? Like, how does what I do relate to your problem or your challenge that you're having, and how can I support you in overcoming that? And everyone has a different style of doing it in social media. Some people, like, I like to be very funny. One of my things is humor and kind of ridiculous but everyone's different, so you have to find your own kind of flavor. Some people love like word quotes and they're a little more like spiritual and softer. Great. If that's your flavor, then go for it. So you want to have a mix of the value adds of, like you say, like, how can you add value and how can you teach? And then the personal things, we do like the behind the scenes of the people, because it is important for me to understand who you are as a person if I'm going to do business with you too. But not, you don't have to tell and show everything online by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a free for all for your personal life. It's just whatever aspects relate to your business that are fun, and how can you create content that's really delightful around it? But it's just about storytelling. I mean, all social media it's how to build relationships. But at the first of this podcast, you asked me like where I'm from and what my parents did and what I was like in school. I'm telling stories about my life so that you can get to know me. That's how we get to know each other. So social media is the same thing. How can you tell a story about what is happening that is helpful for your audience?
Yeah, I'm always telling people, just tell your story. Like, just be authentically you. I mean, you don't have to be anybody that you don't want to be. You don't have to act like somebody else because they're having success on social media. So you have to do everything like them. You do you. You be you now in a professional way that adds value to the world. But the truth is that we want to know you, and people are so afraid to and I was too. And I totally have empathy for anybody that is going through this right now, because I did too. I mean, I'd never been on social media before. I'd never been on TV every day. I mean, I spoke in front of people for years and years and years, but I'd never really, when I speak on stage, I tell my story kind of in a stage talk story. And then I talk about my business and I talk, I talk about those things. I don't show my cat or my dog on stage or So it was weird for me a little bit in the beginning. And then I just kind of figured, you know what? I'm just going to share my life and I'm going to share my journey. And, some people are going to like it. Some people aren't. That's okay. I'm only looking for the people that are looking for me anyways. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. So am I kind of doing it okay?
Yeah, I love that because what you're speaking into is what I feel like is like a big human issue is that plain small. Like I'm afraid to really show people who I am because of this fear of like what are they going to think of me and who do I think I am? And that's plain small. That's holding ourselves back. And it's something I hear all the time from clients is I want to play a bigger game. I know I'm in my own way. I know I'm playing small. So I hear that and what you're saying is that was where you were is you were able to really show yourself in some parts on stage, which is a different experience. But then when it's this kind of social media aspect, it's like, well, how do you show it fully as yourself? And what's delightful is when each of us start to really show up in a bigger way within ourselves in social media, then we start attracting those ideal clients because they can actually feel us and understand who we are. But until then, that we're just kind of melding into the millions of people who are online. And what's great about this is none of us need like a million clients, do we? Right? I mean, the businesses that you're coaching people in and I'm coaching people in, I mean, what do we need? Like 100, a couple hundred, like 20, people want to fill groups of 20. Like these aren't big numbers, right? We're not trying to attract millions of people around the planet. I mean, some people are, and that's great, but that's a whole different platform. They're already in the playing a bigger game. But most people that are listening to this podcast are like, how do I add 10 more clients into my business right now? Like, wouldn't 10 more clients be amazing for all of us? Wouldn't we all be super excited to have 10 more clients right now? Well, that's not that many people, right? So when you think about standing forward in yourself and like sharing who you are and understanding that the more that you really share who you are in social media, in your emails, in your phone calls with people, in your videos, whatever it is you're doing, the more that you actually share yourself and your true personality, you're going to magnetize and draw in like crazy your ideal clients. And then if people don't like what you got to offer, they're not going to be attracted to you, which is fine because you don't want them anyway.
Oh man, love it. I literally could have this conversation with you for the next 2 hours. I'm not even kidding. This is so valuable. I mean, I'm talking right at this moment in time. This is so valuable, and I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I think this is a lot of my audience. They're going to be jacked up with this information. So, look, you're a big believer of the law of attraction. I know we
Mhm.
touched on it a little bit, but how did like tell me a little bit about the pain you went through and how you kind of overcame it in maybe if it anything with the
Oh,
law of attraction
yeah.
helped you with that.
Oh my gosh, yes, because when how I got to LA, I was in sales and marketing. I was with a fashion company. I was in corporate America for my first 20 years of my career in pharmaceutical sales and then with a fashion company. So I was working in a job that I was really good at and I was successful at, but I was miserable. And I knew there was something else for me. I knew there was something better out there, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew I had to take a leap of faith, and I was making over six figures. I mean, like I was fine. I could have been in this career for the rest of my life and been fine. But there was this, you know, a bigger calling, a bigger calling, a bigger calling. And when I trusted that bigger calling and I took that leap of faith and I literally jumped off the ledge with no safety net, I walked away from a six-figure career with not knowing what I was going to do next, but I just knew there was something else. So once I walked away from that career in 2007, that's when everything opened up. That's when like I would say kind of the magic of life started happening, because then I had to use the law of attraction. Then I had to really like think about, well, if I could really like create, I'll give you a perfect example. So I was when you talk about speaking things into reality. So when I left my career, I didn't know what I was going to do next. I was in Cancun on vacation, and I used to be a singer when I was a kid, but I'd stopped singing for many years. But I was karaokeing all over Cancun, and in karaoke, Cancun's huge. They have like stages, and like it's this huge thing. So I would be like up there singing, and like the whole restaurant or bar would like turn around and stare at me like, who is this girl? Because I'm just up there like, wow, like doing my thing. And my friends were like, "You're amazing." And I was like, "I know, this is so fun." And I said, I just nonchalantly said, "When I get home from Mexico, I'm going to have a one woman show." And my friends go, "What's that?" And I go, "I don't know, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to have a band and I'm going to tell stories of my life and it's going to be funny and I'm going to sing and it's going to be sexy and inspiring. And I'm just going to do it," having no idea what I was talking about. But law of attraction, when destiny steps in, 2 weeks later, I meet a producer in Los Angeles that's like, "That's what I do, is I help people like you put together a one woman show I help you pick the music. I help you find the musicians and find the venue." And by the end of that year, I had a stage show called Big Blonde and Beautiful, which I'd never done in my life, had never had any intention of doing, but it was like the most fun, amazing, crazy thing I've ever done. And that's how I started in the entertainment business. I did not have it. I did not move to LA to be an actor. I had never been an actor in my life. I did not dream of this until I walked away from that career, had the divine inspiration to create a show. Boom, 6 months later, I have a show. And then, the rest kept going.
Okay, so people that are watching this on YouTube, because it'll eventually be on YouTube and podcasts and everything, but people are looking at you and they're going, "She's a beautiful woman." Okay. First of all, I want to ask you, do you get a lot of weird DMs from crazy people all over the world? I'm sure you do. Okay.
Yeah, I get those.
but secondly, cause let's be honest, people are going to look at this and they're going to go, "Well, it's easy for her because, she looks the part. She's a good speaker. She sings. She has all that. And I'm a little more introverted and I'm shy and I don't know how to talk like that. And I can't look like that, or I don't, whatever." And so from a woman's perspective, what would you say to a woman that maybe came to you with that challenge?
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I thank you for that, and I understand that because I've lived like this, looking like this for my life, so I understand that perception, and it's so funny to me because it's not the reality. Because for anyone that has any sort of business, and when I started coaching, it's another perfect example. I didn't know how to coach. I'd never even gone to a coaching program. I just saw a need in an area of life where I was watching people and I was like, "I can help people with this." And a lady came up to me and she was like, you know, talking to me, and I go, "Oh, you could do this, this, and this to help your business, whatever." And she goes, "Oh, are you a coach? Can you coach me?" And I go, "Sure, of course I can. Yes, I'd love to coach you." I'd never coached before. I just said yes. And she's like, "Well, how much do you charge?" And I was like, thinking, well, that's a really good question. And I was like, $50. Like, I started coaching for like $50 an hour. I don't know, for 3 sessions. I don't even know. It was so little. Fast forward 10 years, it's, completely different. But the point is, it's not about call it extroversion, my extroverted personality or the looks or anything. It's that I've said yes. The thought, the inspiration comes in, and I simply say yes. And I do it even though I have no freaking clue how to do it or how I'm going to do it or what it's going to look like. I just am like, all right, let's go for it. Why not? It's that courageous action that's changed my life. It's not, I wouldn't say, I do not think I have anything special or different or unique than most of the people on this planet. The difference is I have just said yes enough times, and I continue to, I have to, that are still scary, that I just keep moving forward, and that's it.
And I love that. And that to me is the definition of happiness. And I think that's why I can feel such a happy, none of us are happy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. None of us are perfect. But the truth is, there are people that you just feel an incredible energy, and you have that energy, and you're a happy person, and you want to make other people happy, and you want to have a great life. But the reason why I believe that is because you say yes. And I believe that progress equals happiness. And that was, I got that from Tony Robbins, by the way, a million years ago. I was actually trained under Tony Robbins when I was 21 years old, went to my first Tony Robbins seminar, changed my life. I mean, in 7 years, I had $1 million saved, and I was completely financially independent at 28 years old. And so, but I believe that I'm like you in the sense that I just keep saying yes all the time. When you were talking right now, I was listening to you, And all I kept thinking is, me and you have never spoke before. We've never spoken one word. I didn't even know what your voice sounded like, right? And but I look for inspirational people to have on the podcast, and then we reach out. And I don't really like to have a lot of conversations before, because I like it to be spontaneous. I like the fact that we've never met before, that we could just have this conversation based on curiosity. Man, I have a lot of notes, but I sometimes don't go off the notes, because I go into all these different directions because I'm so curious to know about the person. And the reason why you're successful, and for anybody that's listening, I can tell you that it's because she's always trying to make progress. Not that everything works, not that everything's perfect. And people got to stop thinking that everything is going to work out perfect every time. You could have came on the podcast. I could have been a weirdo and, been crazy, weird questions or something, and you'd have been like, I'm out of here. But you took the chance, you just said, you know what? I'm going to go on the podcast. Let's see what happens. And who knows, maybe I'll make a new friend. You never know what's going to happen unless you say yes. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree with that. And as you were speaking, it just reminded me of all the times in my life when things have been so shitty, but it's still, you see what it's like the crappy times have turned into, like, taking a chance and it doesn't turn out great, or it doesn't turn out what I think it is going to, that makes, when it does turn out really good, that it makes it all the sweeter, basically. But it's not like I said before, nobody gets a free ride. It's not like I oh my God, like I I have a time in my life where I went through all of my savings. Like, I went through everything. I had $0. I had -$0. And I was like, what am I going to do now? I have literally spent every penny I have. I do not know what, I didn't like have a next career. I didn't know what was next. It was one of the hardest times of my life. I've been in a massive depression in my life. Out of the blue, I mean, I'm a lady of a certain age. I don't look it, but I am. And hormones change and life changes. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, what happened? And I went into a massive depression, which kind of came out of the blue and shook me to my knees. And it humbled me so much that I was like, oh my God. But the how I got through all those really challenging experiences was trusting that there was something here for me. That's where, like, trusting that everything's for my highest good. That's continue to say yes. Continue, like, don't retreat. Don't lay down and just roll over and be like, I'm out. Like, keep moving forward no matter how challenging it is. And that's the thing. The perfection will never come. It never does come. It's that, like you say, the progress. It's like, okay, in my massive depression, when I ran out of money, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I got to get up. I got to take a shower. I got to work out. I got to figure out, like, who do I need to talk to? And that's when the miracles kind of come in too, is when I'm so humbled and I'm like, I don't have anything to lose anymore. And I kind of feel like that's what is a state that we're kind of in right now, of this humongous transformation on the planet. Is like, what do we have to, what do I have to lose anymore? Like, life is precious. Life is short. What can I say yes to? How can I invite in more miracles? And that's in those super challenging moments in my life in the past. That's the only way that I continued to create more, was by saying yes to something and trusting that something else was out there, and looking at progress, not at the end result, because the end result wasn't there. It was only the next step.
Good stuff. I hope y'all are writing notes, because this lady, she is on fire right now. You are in the zone, man. You got me in the zone right now. I'm like, wow, I'm just, shoveling it all in my brain as quickly as I can. So, all right.
We're kindred spirits, that's for sure.
I'm serious. I'm not even kidding. This is like really, really an amazing podcast. Okay, I'm going to wind down here. Last couple of minutes, just kind of throw some questions at you as quickly as you want. Favorite book?
Oh gosh. Remembering the Light Within. It's from my teachers, Ron and Mary Holnick from the University of Santa Monica Spiritual Psychology Program. Remembering the Light Within.
Favorite movie?
Well, it's going to sound so cliche, but I think Shawshank. Okay, two. There's three. I don't have one. Shawshank Redemption, just because it's like amazing. The King's Speech, because it's such a metaphor for life. It's such a metaphor for challenges and overcoming and like becoming a better version of yourself. I love that movie. And then Bridesmaids.
Okay, all right.
Why not?
There's your comedy. There's your comedy coming in right there. Favorite food?
Oh gosh, I'm a vegetable girl. Like, that's not, oh no, what am I saying? I'm a chocolate girl. Like I would say, I already know what my last meal would be. If they're like, what's your last meal? I'm like, it would be hot chocolate chip cookies. It would be, that chocolate cake that is molten chocolate cake with like chocolate in the middle and, brownies. Like I'm a chocolate girl.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Love it. Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream for sure. I don't like
Ice
cake.
cream. So yeah, you got to put the ice cream inside that molten thing,
Yeah.
or maybe even on the cookies or something like
Exactly.
that too. And love it, love it, love it. This has been so much fun. I can't tell you
Totally.
how much I appreciate your time, your energy, your wisdom. We got a big audience. We got a lot of people that are listening to this podcast. Thousands and thousands will be watching our YouTube. And so I just want to know, how do we get a hold of you, and how do these people, if they want you to coach them and maybe guide them on some of these principles, just dig in a little bit deeper with you, how do we get a hold of you?
I love it. Okay, great. So I'm on obviously Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is where I hang out more, and I'm just at Arian Alexander, and I'm sure you put that in the show notes. So you can always follow me there. And when you do, DM me and tell me that you heard me on Daniel's show, because I love to hear where you came from. So that's awesome. So please follow me there and we'll hang out. And then if you are interested in speaking to me directly, just email me at info@arianalexander.com. Just info@arianalexander.com, and put Daniel's podcast in the subject, and my assistant will get that to me for sure, that we can definitely chat. And then also I have a really great, because we've speaking so much about videos, I have a really great 7-day video breakthrough series. That's 7 days of videos of how to create powerful videos, plus a bonus action guide called 3 Steps to On-Camera Confidence. So you can go get that, and that's going to help you 100% in creating powerful videos for video marketing, because you'll get 7 days of videos from me and the bonus action guide, and that's at videoactionguide.com. So just go to videoactionguide.com and get that. And then, but if you want to talk to me personally, just go to info@arianalexander.com.
Well, she is amazing, everybody. Make sure that you follow her immediately. Go check out all of her videos. Find out as much as you possibly can about her, because I think she could be an important person that could help transform your life to get that life you always dreamt of. And with that said, thank you all for listening and watching today. Just make sure that you continue to dream bigger than ever. But don't forget that you need to do it now. God bless you. We'll see you at the top.